Welcome to Knife Chats. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
So I was going through my knife collection and I came across this, the Boker Magnum Classic. You can see there, Magnum on the blade. A really nice knife. You can see here also you've got your can opener, spear blade. Other end you've got a reamer and a cap lifter screwdriver. And yes, those are the same things that you will find on your Swiss Army Pioneer, by Victorinox. Exact same blades, actually laid out in the same fashion even. However, we've already talked about that this pattern predates both the Boy Scouts and Victorinox. The knives were being used way back in the 1870s. Here's a 1930s issue of one by the Iroquois Knife Company. And so we know this is a very old pattern. So these are just a Boy Scout knife. However, this one really intrigued me because the Sporting Titan is almost a direct copy of the Victorinox Spartan, right down to it being made in 2 layers. Let me see if I can do this without cutting myself. Notice both of them have 2 layers. And that's because, let me close these up. We already saw the blades. Blade configuration is exactly the same, even though they do look slightly different. We'll close them all up. Because once we close them up, we see a few other things that are very similar. Notice the bottom and the way the corkscrews and the reamers line up into those springs, and that's because the Boker Magnum Sporting Titan has copied the asymmetrical back springs used by Victorinox, so that everything can be you're having multiple tools, 3 tools working off of one spring. And that is what makes this knife, the Sporting Titan, a copy of the Spartan. Even though it has a dark rosewood scale, it's basically nothing but a copy of the Swiss Army Spartan. And when you consider the name Sporting Titan, that also kind of leads back, because you have to remember, before the Spartan was the Spartan, it was the Standard. And before it was the Standard, it was the Swiss Army Officers and Sporting Knife. So, Sporting Titan, Sporting Knife, you be the judge. This is a Swiss Army like knife, and the Magnum is just your basic Boy Scout knife.
So on the left you see a Victorinox Standard, and on the right you see the Boker Magnum Sporting Titan, and this is the back side. You can notice the cutouts for the back springs and the way the tools are arranged. Corkscrew side, you notice the shapes are almost identical. The use of the bail, the bird's eye rivet is a really nice touch on the Sporting Titan, but you can tell overall it is nothing but a copy of the Victorinox Standard. And here's the front side. You notice the cutout here for the reamer, similar to what you see on the Standard. However, there's also additional cutout here because of the way the front tools are and what type of front tools they're using here. That was not necessary on the Standard. But as you can tell, the 2 knives are nearly identical, so there's no doubt that the Sporting Titan is a Swiss Army like knife or a Swiss Army knockoff. Okay, what makes a Swiss Army knife a Swiss Army knife? It really just comes down to the back spring that it's using. On the right over here, you see the common slip joint back spring. They've been around for hundreds of years. And what you see is a spring that has a hole in the center, and through that hole, a rivet will pass, and it will hold the back spring onto the knife handle. This allows you to operate a tool off of either end of the back spring. However, when Carl Elsener developed his Swiss Army officers and sports knife, he also came out with a new kind of back spring. It's asymmetrical in design, meaning that one side of the spring is longer than the other, and instead of being riveted into place, it actually floats around a rivet. And what actually holds it in place is the back tool, which is riveted in place. By doing this, he actually allows 3 tools to operate off of one spring. The bottom tool here can flex off of this side of the spring, pushing it up against the rivet, while the 2 top tools can operate in just a regular fashion as the rivet here holds the spring in place so they can flex against this rivet. And this tool is operating against this rivet. It was really an ingenious design and has since been copied by others because the patent is obviously expired. But when you see a knife other than Victorinox or Wenger using this setup, it's basically a Swiss Army-like knife as opposed to an actual Swiss Army knife, because while they can use this spring, they cannot actually use the name Swiss Army knife. That is a trademark held by Victorinox today. As always, thanks for dropping by, and remember, you're only as sharp as your knife.